I was really craving nachos fajitas today from the Mexican restaurant with the frozen margarita, and particularly a frozen strawberry margarita. It's like one of my favorite things ever. I used to eat this like every day at work over lunch. Um, Not every day, but enough days. Depending on the location that I was working at, it was just nachos fajitas are my favorite. Don't sleep on them if you haven't tried them. uh, so rather than spending, about $30 and having the professionals make it there for me, I decided to spend like, double or triple that to make the same thing at home, but a lesser quality. So, hang out with me here as I start preparing some dinner. But what I wanted to actually do is talk a little bit about EDs because, they've been really big lately, a big point of discussion, particularly because, we've got Hollywood is withering away and a lot of, the stars are very, very emaciated. The GLP ones are now accessible, I think, to anybody who wants them. You can just, I don't know if you can get them over the counter, but I know a lot of people who don't need to be on them that are on them. So I wanted to talk about my own struggles. Now, I had a lot of the terminology for this may have changed over time, but I had binge eating disorder, or, binging and purging. I did calorie deficit during the day. At nighttime, I would stuff my face. And basically, it was like uncontrollable urges to eat, just like, sorry, I'm looking for some stuff here. Uh, Large quantities of, and then just throw it up. And where's my freaking mixer thing? But from about age 16 to 26, I would binge and purge almost every night. And, I was a teenager all through the early 2000s. Uh, you know, my childhood was spent primarily in the 90s. I'm an 80s baby. But things were really hard for us girls in that time period. Um, we were essentially no more than there to be owned by men. And we're just pretty much 100% sexualized. That was basically it. Um, Let me get this here. But anyways, I was a string bean as a kid, and then I hit puberty, and overnight I became pretty voluptuous, and like I started getting a ton of attention in school. Like suddenly people knew who I was. Um, but I was always a curvy girl, and particularly when I was like 15, 16, I was very voluptuous and very curvy. And I think it may have been jealousy, but a lot of people would just, you know, talk about how, fat I was. And they'd be like, oh, you're thick, not fat. Back then, thick was an insult. Um, but anyways, I would sit at, the lunch table with these girls who were like 110 pounds. Or no, excuse me, like 100 pounds. And I was like 130, 140. I think I sat around that 140 pounds. And these girls, and now granted, I was a lot taller. To me, it was the number that would stand out. They would like talk about, them like, oh, I'm gonna like myself because I'm like over 100 pounds now, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm 140 pounds. Like, what the hell do you think? Like, I should do that to myself? Like, so it was really, really toxic. That just set me off, for a spiral for years. I did, uh, for me, what, kind of, I think probably would stand out most is the it's just how delusional you are. If you are in that headspace, that ED headspace is extremely delusional. And that's where I lived. I had very much, body dysmorphia. I was so disgusted with myself. And then looking back, you know, for a while there, I had gotten really thin and, lost all of my curves and everything that made me feel feminine. And, ooh, that splashed. That made me feel bad about myself as well. But I would look, uh, just see myself as like a monster when I would look in the mirror, and I'm like, hyper focus on certain areas. So like I wouldn't see the whole picture. I could only see these specific imperfections. And that's where like the delusion lies, is like you've got these people who are so thin, but they can find like one little flaw with themselves. And if there's, if everything is not perfect, then they're not happy, like they're miserable. And so that's kind of, where a lot of these people, I think their heads are just in really dark spaces because, um, you know, to be real with you, they're pretty delusional. Um, and it took a long time for me to recover. And, even as of late, if you were to look at, now I've been running for the TikTok police, but if you were to look at my last profile, you would have seen how thin I was. I have gained 20 pounds in the last like 3 months, which I was motivated to do. So I actually got this beautiful Caribbean man told me when I was on in the Bahamas, they had the face of a model. And the way I heard that was like, oh my God, that's like the nicest compliment I've ever got. But what I'm hearing is that I need to work on the rest of this, because my husband and I were in a really dark place. And, he was being super mean to me and I had no appetite. I just didn't want to eat. I was super depressed. Um, but I got my appetite back on the trip and have since, if you're wanting to know, how did I thicken back up? It's been a lot of chips and cheese, primarily chips and cheese. Ooh, this is going to be good. But a lot of those people, they're literally, it's just like, it's a literal mental illness, you know, and that's just the sad reality of it. They're not seeing themselves the same way that we see them, when we're like, we got the it because we're looking and seeing all those bones. Um, it is a delusional state to live in. It is, uh, it is poor mental health. And I'm sure there's a number of reasons why they're in that state. There's a lot of triggers out there. But I'm about 40 years old now. So 26 is, you know 14 years ago for me. And that, but I would say that that decade, maybe even over a decade, I really fucking struggled with just being obsessed with my body. Probably, I'll be honest with you, probably up until like almost my mid 30s. It took me to become comfortable with my body and to stop being obsessed with working out and food. Because eventually, I guess I stopped my food obsession necessarily, and then it went into working out obsessively. And, you know, now I'm just at a place where I'm comfortable and I eat uh I eat normal. Like I eat what I want. I eat good foods that are nutritious, and um I don't have any regret in doing so, and I don't hate my body anymore. But the road to recovery was really long, and I just really hope for the best for anybody out there who is struggling. um it's so hard to pull yourself out of that place, but it is possible. So, I'm going to mix this bad boy up, but thanks for listening. Have a great day, TikTok.